Thank you very much. Let me come to you, Fred.
Yes.
You are a Nigerian.
Yes.
Patriotic Nigerian yourself. You've been following the situation very closely. Yeah. Do you agree with Nick that this time around INEC has been able to conduct an election that can be seen to be free, fair, and transparent?
Shaka, based on the result, yes, I do. And I also would want to add my comment and congratulate INEC for being able to pull through such a very difficult task, given the hiccups and the problems that they had earlier on in putting the parliamentary election on the 9th of April, and also the difficulties that showed itself as the presidential election was coming up. Having said all of that, Shaka, we have to agree that INEC is done a very, very good job. But still, we have to look forward to the coming election next week, which is the gubernatorial election, and also the state representative elections. And given the present condition on the ground, I would like to ask Nick how he can convince us that the present riots would not affect the coming election, and that we will be able to see through a very successful electoral process, one that will show that the efforts and the determination of the Nigerian people that has been reflected through the high turnover, both in the election on the 9th of April and the election, the presidential election on the 16th, that their determination to accept democratic ideals and principles would result in a free, fair election 2011 that will give the mandate and the legitimacy that the voters, the Nigerian voters, have given to President Jonathan in the last presidential election.
We'll get to that a little bit later, but first, business first. How can we possibly ignore the fact that there is a substantial segment of Nigerian society which seems to, frankly, look at this presidential election as having been a sham? How can we wish away the people of the northern part of the country, for example? Look at their behavior. They don't seem to be in agreement that there was an election that was indeed free, fair, and transparent.
The unrest in the northern part of Nigeria is one of concern. We've also heard from some of the opposition parties that have come up with claims, allegations, and I think INEC would need to investigate those allegations. And there's due process. There's a process in place to address all of the above, Shaka. I think it would be very unpatriotic, even, and this is a statement that my organization released in 2007. About the same time, actually it was April 20th, 2007, when the opposition parties in the last election were claiming that they were going to boycott the elections. We went on and said, please, let's go ahead with the election. In a democracy, voters have a right to go to the poll. And we know also that the Electoral Commission has a responsibility to ensure that the electorate's wishes are expressed. And if for any reason there were irregularities, there is a process, there are processes in place that would allow the electoral laws to be obeyed. And we've seen that in the 2007 election, there were reversals. We saw in Ekiti State, and we've seen in Edo State, and many of them. So if they are legitimate claims, Shaka, I think taking to the street and causing chaos is uncalled for. I think at this point in time, this election is historic and very important to the future of Nigeria. And we appeal to all Nigerians to go through this electoral process, to put their legitimate claims through the available framework. And we will deal with that at the appropriate time.
You know, it was the third United States President, Thomas Jefferson, a man that was a remarkable intellectual, who once said that dissent was perhaps the highest or the greatest form of patriotism. But he obviously didn't mean violence.
Definitely not. And in order for the development agenda that the next administration would have in place, we need to be able to ensure that we get the international community, particularly investors, to see Nigeria as a peaceful nation and one where they can come in and invest. Not only that, we need a united Nigeria. We need all citizens of Nigeria. We need all hands on the deck, both at home and abroad, to be able to ensure that we can move Nigeria to the next level. And I think that's one of the statements that came loud and clear from the acceptance speech of President Jonathan yesterday when he accepted the result of the election.